everybody, and welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts, us. It's Ariel and
Raylene. Hey.
That's right. From coast to coast, we join you today. I am back in my homeland of Canada.
Oh, thank God. We really missed you.
I missed you too. Although, I have to say, I'm very proud of the whole situation having worked out where we didn't miss a single episode. We recorded at our normal time basically every day.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we were able to, during my travels, keep the show going.
Yeah, that was good.
The show comes first, damn it. Every Monday night, I'd have to be like, Connor, we can't do a nice dinner today. Like, we can't go out. I have to go back and I have to record.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited because I do have a tiny haul. I did get a couple more books. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about general reading, of course. You have a book game today for us, which I'm definitely looking forward to. I literally told multiple friends over there, like, just because I saw 7 different friends.
Oh my God.
Isn't that? It's so funny to me to think that I have that many friends. Like, I'm
right. I can't say that I do.
In my normal life, I only talk to you. But then I'm like, oh yeah, I had this past life in England where I had all these chums.
That's true.
It's so funny. But anyways, on multiple of my hangouts with these different people, I literally told them about the game that you quizzed me on, the Animal Farm quotes game. Because I was like, so anyway, my podcast, my best friend, she quizzed me on Animal Farm. It was incredibly stressful. Just because I thought it was such a fun game.
That's awesome.
But before we dive in, we have 2 very fun little admin things to do. The first one is to announce that we are doing Mashed Potato May this year. We did it last year. We're bringing it back. And we did mean to tell you guys weeks ago, but we literally, we keep forgetting. Raylene writes it in her agenda thing that she uses to keep track of everything.
And then I don't look at it.
Well, no, at the beginning of I think every episode you say to me, Ariel, we're supposed to talk about this thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then a few minutes go by as we set everything else up. Then we hit record.
Flies away.
Neither of us remember to say it. So we're remembering to say it. This is a very casual, group read situation. So basically, maybe you need to explain to the people what mashed potato book is. This is our curse.
Yep, it's a crazy thing. So a mashed potato book can mean a lot of different things. It can mean a book that you keep putting off because you are so excited to read it that you're like almost scared to pick it up. Yeah. Or it can be a book that you're avoiding for some other reason. But generally it's a book that you're really excited to read that you just keep putting off. Yes. And so Mashed Potato May is our opportunity to tackle one or many of these books, because otherwise we may just let them keep slipping by for years and years and years. So yeah, we're not going to announce our TBRs yet because it's still a little early, but yes, we are going to be doing that.
On our episode, not this episode, but the next episode, I think so, right? We'll talk about the books that we are going to be trying to tackle in Mashed Potato May. And we would really love to get you guys involved. This is genuinely only fun. Well, that's not true. Me and Raylene do have our own fun. But it is a huge added element of fun to see what you guys are reading and enjoying during the month. So, number 1, use the hashtag Mashed Potato May.
Yep.
That way, if you want to share with other people what books you want to tackle that month, why those are mashed potato books for you, etc., that would be really fun for us to be able to look at. And secondly, I just made this decision on the fly, Raylene. I think we should make a Discord group for...
Oh, heck yeah.
Right? A chat. Sorry. We do have a very bustling Discord group that is for our patrons, but we like to open it up whenever we do group reads and stuff like that. So we will do a thing. I'll link it in the show notes here if you want to join it and start talking already about what you're tackling that month. So that'll be a little bit of fun, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. We did it, Raylene. We remembered to mention it.
Nailed it.
The next thing we wanted to say was, well, I don't actually know what's going on. Raylene just said to me, I have an email I want to read out loud. And I'm like, all right.
It's actually perfect that we were talking about mashed potato made before this because it's a mashed potato related email. So we got this email from Sophia, who's one of our listeners from Argentina. Hello. And the email says, the other day I went into a YouTube rabbit hole on liminal spaces, as one does, and ended up finding The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, a book that attempts to give words to specific emotions that have none to describe them before. I went looking for it and started reading as soon as I could, and to my surprise, in the second section I found this.
Whoa.
The word is proluctance. The paradoxical urge to avoid doing something that you've been looking forward to, opening a decisive letter, meeting up with a friend who's finally in town, reading a new book from your favorite author, perpetually waiting around for the right state of mind, stretching out the bliss of anticipation as long as you can.
Whoa.
Proluctance, which I think is a great word to describe that.
Yes.
And then the email continues. Same thing as mashed potatoes. I think you've pinpointed something nearly universal about human nature with the term you've coined in the second episode. No kidding. And I think the author of this book, whose name is John Koenig, would agree. And in case you were wondering, the book was published in 2021, so you guys were in fact first. So
we beat him to it!
So he coined the term in a different way than we did. So you can call it proluctance if you want. We're going to keep calling them mashed potato books, but I thought that email was really cute.
That is
was a fun
so
little
cute.
tidbit for the people.
That is so cute. I can
So
definitely
thank you,
see
Sophia.
I can see the term proluctance catching on more easily than mashed potato. But although, to be fair, if you said proluctance to me, I would have to ask you, what does that mean?
Well,
like
exactly.
it's not
It's not universal.
self-explanatory. Mashed potato books are also not explanatory, but I think we've
Also, I
started a
like that
movement.
mashed potato books is just specifically for books. Like, it doesn't apply to anything else. Like, it has to be mashed potato book.
Yeah, it's not a mashed potato like movie.
It's not a mashed potato life. No, it's just book.
Thank you, Sophia, for sending that email, and Raylene for reading it out. That was cute.
You're very welcome.
Proluctance.
Proluctance.
All right, I'm excited about my haul. So shall we start there?
Oh, please. Yeah, I want to hear what else you got.
All right, so this is kind of fun because this being the third one, over the last 3 episodes, I have slowly done my England haul because we have filmed while I was in England, as opposed to our usual rigmarole of me coming home with a giant stack and then presenting them all to you. So I, in the last week of my trip, got 3 more books. So that is what I'm going to talk to you about. Today, the first, I'll talk about these 2 together because I got them at the same bookshop. So I went to Foyles. I literally went to Foyles, I think 3 times, which is so funny. Like, literally, I was just like, I went like 3 times, and the first 2 times I didn't buy anything. I just kind of poked around, and I had a pleasant time. One of these times, and I texted you about it. Did I already talk about it on the pod? I forget, but I saw a mouse. Did I talk about this?
No, I don't think you talked about it on the podcast.
I texted you and I was like, Raylene, I'm in Foyles and I saw a mouse. And you were like, you're literally now a Disney princess attracting rodents.
There's rodents everywhere in your life.
And you know what, Raylene? You are not the first person to say that to me. Another
hilarious.
person after you, though, said that as well, where they were like, you're like a Disney princess with all these rodents. And I'm like, yeah,
I know.
I'm not trying to get all these rodents, but they are all here.
All these rodents.
Damn it. That's so funny. But yeah, so that was one time when I went, basically, I just hung out with my friend and had a really cute dinner. And I realized that Foyles was still open because Foyles is open till 9 p.m.
Ooh,
and
wow.
a little late night shopping, no problem.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And so after that, I went there and I walked around for a while, and I actually did buy a book, but for my mum. That trip. Oh wait, I think that is when I bought Waiting for Ted. But anyways, I went back like the next week and I got these 2 books because one of them I have picked up and put down in multiple bookshops over the last year. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just finally going to do it.
Yeah.
And it is Assembly by Natasha Brown.
Ooh, I am obsessed with that cover. It's so cool.
Have you heard of this one?
No,
Ray?
I don't think I know what that is.
So I have seen this one. I saw it around a lot last year, like on Instagram and everything. And I believe that it was nominated for, it was shortlisted for the Goldsmiths Prize, the Rathbones Folio Prize, the Los Angeles Times. And it's a debut, which is always a little frightening.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, it's partly I'm always like, oh, you never know. Like, it could just be like, or I just like get frightened because I'm like, wow, imagine this is someone's first book and it's this good. I'm so jealous. So, okay, this copy of it is not as helpful as the Canadian copies that I have picked up in Canadian bookshops. It is not giving me the synopsis, so I'm going to look it up. Assembly, Natasha Brown. I'm pretty sure that this is a British author. Yeah. And the cover here is way worse.
I want to look it up. I was going to say, how could it be better than that? It doesn't.
Yeah. This is such a cool, spooky, interesting cover.
I have seen that cover, but I would never choose to pick that up.
No,
unfortunately.
Exactly. So it says here, I'll read the synopsis. That's just the first one that came up for me for the US Canada edition. The narrator of Assembly is a Black British woman. She is preparing to attend a lavish garden party at her boyfriend's family estate set deep in the English countryside. At the same time, she is considering the carefully assembled pieces of herself. As the minutes tick down and the future beckons, she can't escape the question, is it time to take it all apart? So that's also kind of vague now that I read it. But basically, I like the idea of the book it's only 119 pages.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this copy is even shorter. This copy's, oh my God, Raylene, this copy is 99 pages.
I was going to say, I hope it's 99. Well,
it's
that's
100.
pretty cool, though.
It's 100. It's exactly 100 pages. And like, Raylene, look at these margins, Raylene.
Oh my goodness.
This book is probably like 50 pages of a normal typeset. I'm a little stressed because there's no quotation marks. That is such a turnoff for me.
Yeah.
I know that authors are trying to be cool and they're like, nah, man, I'll blend in the prose. But then I'm just like, it's just confusing. Yeah. It's just confusing. Anyways, that's personal pet peeve. Have we ranked that one? We should rate that out of 10 on our spreadsheet.
Such a good idea.
I'll write that down so we don't forget. I will actually write that down. What was it? Rate? No quotation marks, because I will forget. Okay, so basically this sounded really fun to me because it's very short and it's set at this garden party. And I love something like that where it's like set over one night or set in one thing.
Yeah, it kind of feels cinematic a little bit.
A real slice of life situation. And I just heard really, really good things. I saw it for me personally last year and the year before on multiple people's best of the year lists. Okay. Where like different Instagrammers and YouTubers that I follow were just like, this was in my top 10 of 2022. And I was like, great. So I love this copy. I had to get that. And then the other one, kind of similar, is Boulder by Eva Baltazar. Great name. What do you think of this cover?
I mean, it's cool. It's definitely a cool cover. It's not like my style personally.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a couple of things that I was excited about with this book. So it was the reason that it was that it came up on my radar was two things. Number one, it was nominated. This is why I say that it's similar. Like, it was nominated for a couple of prizes that I am aware of. Okay. So it was longlisted this year for the 2023 International Booker Prize. Ooh. And I feel like maybe I'm lying, but possibly it was on the women's prize, but that might not be true. Anyhow, this sounds cool for a few reasons, and I'm trying to remember on the fly what the hell they were.
You're like, why did I grab this? Something ripped me.
The other reason was because a friend of mine, his name is Eric. Oh, I talked about him recently because he gifted me his 2 new little books, his little gift books. Eric, whose channel I'll link down below. But he just reviewed... Oh, I'll link to this exact review. Maybe he can convince everyone else. Eric Carl Anderson. But he was talking about how this is a book all about whether or not you should be a mom. And like the title of his video was, if you, like a quotation marks, if you don't have children, what is the meaning of life? And that's kind of what this book is exploring.
Okay.
And as you know, I really enjoyed Motherhood by Sheila Heti, which also talked a lot about that idea. But listen to how, I just think this sounds really cool. A cook on a merchant ship comes to know and love Samsa, a woman who gives her the nickname Boulder. When Samsa gets a job in Reykjavik, awesome. I don't know if I've read a book in Iceland before. And the couple decides to move in together. Samsa declares that she wants to have a child now that they're settled. She's already 40 and can't bear to let the opportunity pass her by. Boulder is less enthused, but doesn't know how to say no, and so finds herself dragged along on a journey that feels as thankless to her as it is alien. So it's like this couple, and one of the women really wants children and is like, let's do it. And the other woman doesn't want children, but doesn't know how to say that, kind of. And it's about that tension. It's also very short. This guy is 105 pages. Okay.
I almost feel like you've got to be one of the people who has the biggest collection of short books.
I know, right? And I still don't read any of them. Nah, I'm just kidding, you guys.
Just kidding. Ariel does read.
Yeah, I do read. How else would I have a book podcast? It just wouldn't make any sense, Raylene.
It'd be great.
All right, the final book that I got, this is really fun. I got it at the Charles Dickens Museum. So when I was over there, one of the days, I hung out with my friend Claire, who we have to have on the podcast, really.
Yeah,
she's
it's
the
actually
best.
crazy that we haven't had her on yet.
It is weird that we haven't had her. It is weird. Last year, if you all recall, my year of weddings, when I attended all of those weddings, Claire's was I was the maid of honor for her wedding. So I love Claire. But anyway, I was like, let's hang out. And she was like, let's go to the Charles Dickens Museum, because she had been meaning to go. And I was like, that's a great idea. So we go to the museum. We are both starving. And she's like, should we start with like a cup of tea, a scone or something?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. So we go into the cafe. I got some soup. Some kale
soup.
Broccoli soup. Not gonna lie to you, delicious. It was actually so good.
Sounds so good.
And maybe like peas. I think there might have been peas. It was very green. It was a really green soup.
I was gonna say, I love a green soup.
I love a green soup. And today I had tomato soup, Raylene, for lunch.
You're making me want to have soup.
You should have soup.
I think I will.
You should have some soup. But yeah, so we were sitting there. And I'm like starting to eat my soup, and this whole time I'm like, how do I tell her? I felt like I had to get something off my chest, and I was like, how do I tell Claire, my very bookish best friend over there in England, that I have never read any Charles Dickens? And I'm just like, good soup. I haven't read any.
Oh no.
And she was like, oh my God, I haven't really either. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So basically she has read, I think she'd said that she had read 2 of them, but they were both in university and she'd like very much sped read through them.
Yeah.
And I was like, that definitely counts, but I see why you feel like you haven't hit the depths of it yet. And I just haven't read anything by him for, I don't know why. It's so strange. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but he definitely feels like one of my biggest gaps.
Yeah, I agree with that. He just seems kind of scary for some reason.
His books are long.
They're very long.
I think that's the main thing, that I'm just like, that seems long and a little difficult to read. And I bet you they're not. I bet you were just like building it up.
I know. We should just do it.
But anyways, we should just do it. We went through the museum. It was really, really fun. I totally do recommend it. If you like Charles Dickens, you should definitely go. If you haven't read any Dickens like I have, but you enjoy like visiting literary sites, I still really recommend it, because obviously the point of a museum is to teach you about a person. And so I still felt like I took a lot away from all of the different signs and exhibits and everything. Basically, the museum is one of the houses he lived in, so it's like a preserved house of his. Cool. You can go through his kitchen and his office, and they have his writing desk that he actually wrote we know he wrote these 4 novels there, and you know, like that kind of stuff, which was really special. And the other thing is, as you know now, Raylene, I apparently love going through artists' houses, like Monet's house and stuff like that, where it's just like really fun for me to be like, he picked this wallpaper, huh? All right.
Yeah.
I love it. I took so many pictures of the bathroom.
I did. Like, wow, I saw the bathroom. Yeah, that was very cool. It's very pretty.
So, the book that I picked up was at the gift shop at the end. I was like, I really would love to pick up a book here because this is like a nice, memorable experience, and it feels like such a good spot to buy a book. And I was looking at all the ones they had, and I already own most of the Charles Dickens books that I would want to start with.
Yeah.
And so what I think was, I'm like, this might be the most exciting book I think I got on the trip. Well, I'm still pretty happy about my little weasels in the attic moment. That was funny. But I got Charles Dickens' A Life by Claire Tomalin.
That makes sense.
Yes.
A biography.
It's another author's biography. And so basically me and Claire kept saying throughout the entire museum, we kept saying like, wow, this really makes me want to learn more. And then we get to the gift shop and they have these biographies. They had some others as well. But Claire knew of this author. Claire was like, oh, she's a really, really great like British historian. Like you can definitely trust her to write a great book. And I was like, okay, that sounds perfect. It says, in Charles Dickens' A Life, Claire Tomalin gives us the best account yet of the man, his works, his times, and most of all, his extraordinary genius. So I think that sounds like a lot of fun. It's Boyd Tonkin from The Independent says, Tomalin has captured Dickens in sun and shadow with all the full-hearted exuberance, generosity, and keen wit that he merits. So that's pretty, I think that's cool. Basically, like, he's not a perfect figure, of course.
Yeah.
Like, he definitely had some not so cool stuff that he did during his life. I a little bit was like, do we just not really know? Like, how would we know? It was hundreds of years ago, or over 100 years ago. How would we exactly know how he treated his wife? But there's like a little bit of like, was he a good husband? We're not too sure. So there's stuff like that. But I'm like, this is how I find out, really. This is how I find out.
Tell ya.
And the other thing that I got while there, I think I sent you a little video of this, but I'm so obsessed with it. It is this new mug that says, please, sir, I want some more. It is so unbelievably beautiful. Like, I am absolutely chuffed with this mug.
It's great.
I was literally saying this to multiple other friends because, you know, another friend took me to a cathedral and like different friends took me to different places, and all those different places had gift shops. And so I said to multiple different people how much I appreciate well done merchandise. Yeah. Like, I really respect the art of a good gift shop item. Love it.
That's true.
And when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. Like, it feels classy and lovely, but it's also so Dickens, and like it's perfect for the spot, but not like hokey. It hits so many. And so I've already used it. I love it. They also had it as a bowl, but I was like, I think this would be easier to carry home. Yeah. And I don't really think I need bowls of this.
Yeah. But a mug is perfect. A mug is
I
also love that like part of the words are on the outside and some are on the inside. So if you have a full cup of tea, it'll literally just say, please, sir, on the outside of it. And you're like, what?
Chugging. I know. I love that it's kind of printed in there. Like, I just think that looks so clever. Damn it, cool. I love it. So that's now one of my new favorite mugs. Love a literary mug. And actually, today I'm drinking from my little Pride and Prejudice, or my little Jane Austen mug.
Cute.
Because I couldn't drink out of this one because I needed to show it to you.
Of course. Of course.
So there's my little haul, Raylene. 3 new books. I did start to feel some panic in my soul when I was at the Dickens Museum and I bought this huge book and a whole mug. And I was like,
yeah,
I have a backpack to carry all of this back in. But as always, I made it work.
You somehow always do. And you bought a lot of
here.
Clothes too. Like, I'm amazed that you were able to do that.
I bought so much clothing. Like, I don't know what I was doing, but I kept buying clothes as if I had unlimited suitcase space.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna lie to you. I feel pretty calm about packing. This was genuinely the first time where I felt anxiety. I was like, I think I've gone too far this time.
And you just ended up wearing like 6 dresses on the plane.
Like, I'm gonna have to just do the old sweater trick. Like the I know that there are things I can do. Like, number one, I could check my little carry-on, because even though it's a carry-on, you can check whatever you want. So I could have that as a checked bag and then have a tote bag or something as my carry-on. So that would be a saving grace. Or I could ship stuff to myself more. Or my real first line of defense is just start to sneak things into Connor's suitcase. But literally on my second to last day, I was like, I actually feel anxious. I'm seeing the mountain of stuff that I've bought, and I'm worried about that. So on the last day, before I really had any fun or anything, enjoyed my last day, I literally packed my suitcase in the morning. I was like, I can't enjoy today if I am thinking about how am I going to fit this all in. Yeah. And so I spent a while just rolling all my little clothes up really tight and packing it all in. And once I zipped up the suitcase and I was like, it's all there. I was like, great.
We're good.
The only thing I had to put in Connor's suitcase was my pair of pajamas that I had worn that night, because I forgot to put them in the suitcase. And I was like, I'm not going to unzip that and zip it back. I'm that's sealed. That's going in your little bag. So I feel pretty good about that. But yeah, all right. Do you have any books to haul this week?
No, for some reason I thought I did. When I was preparing, grabbing my books that I've been reading, I was like, oh, where are the books that I bought? And I looked around my shelves and I was like, I didn't. And actually the reason for that is because I ordered some books online, which I guess this is kind of like breaking news for those who don't know yet. But the Book Depository is closing.
Fascinating.
As of April 26th, that's the last day they're accepting orders. And then they're going to be around to, deal with people's orders for a couple of months after. And then they're gone. Then they're gone forever. And so I was like, you know what? This is my last opportunity to order from the Book Depository. I'm going to buy some books. So they obviously haven't shown up yet, but that's why in my head, I'm like, I should have books to haul, but not yet. So those will be coming. And
okay, cool.
I bought 7.
Okay, you splurged. You did a little splurge.
Yeah.
You did a little splurge. Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up just because I do have it on my book news for next week, but it kind of is breaking news.
Yeah, because
the clock is ticking.
By the time this comes out, people will have 10 days or 9 days to order still if they didn't know already.
So if you haven't heard, like you said, Raylene, the Book Depository closes April 26th. Yeah. So it was purchased by Amazon in 2011. Which is really fascinating, and it took people a really long time to realize that.
Yeah.
I remember as late as 2014, 2015, people didn't know who it was owned by. Yeah. And it was just this is an indie company. It originally was. It was established by, I'm trying to remember who set that up. UK based, which was why it was amazing and is amazing because it has the UK covers. Mm-hmm. That us people not in the UK really
That was
want.
The main draw for me, and free shipping.
Here's, let's see. I mean, this says it was founded by a former Amazon employee.
What?
So that's very interesting. Oh, yeah, okay. The company was founded in 2004. Whoa. So it was around almost a decade before it got purchased by Andrew Crawford and Stuart Felton. Its motto was to make all books available to all by improving selection, access, and affordability. And obviously the reason that everybody loves the Book Depository so much is because they had free shipping. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that was possible.
I have no idea.
Very genuinely, it doesn't make sense to me as a business model how you can be shipping books for free. And so I am guessing that is part of the reason that they're being closed. Because now that Amazon owns them, they're probably we're just losing money on this for no reason.
Yeah.
Everyone can just buy these books through Amazon.
Yeah.
Which is a little stressful. But here it says, Andrew Crawford, entrepreneur. We're on a deep dive, really. We're on a rabbit hole. Born 1971, go on, Irish entrepreneur. And I just had the impulse to do an Irish accent, and I really squished that down. And the former founder and CEO of Book Depository. He was born in Zambia of Irish heritage. Whoa. God, this is the most interesting man in the world. He went to the University of Liverpool studying engineering, science, and industrial management. After a brief spell working from his family firm, Crawford worked in the 90s in security and specialist risk management. Ooh. Okay. Having been part of the startup for bookpages.co.uk, which was also sold to Amazon.com, he went on to found the Book Depository in 2004, which was later sold to Amazon. How funny is that?
That's wild.
Everything he does gets sold to Amazon. I mean, he must know somebody at Amazon.
Perhaps.
He's a regular columnist for The Bookseller. Okay, so he is a bookish dude.
Oh, wow.
And it just says that he is the founder of Dodo Press, which... When I click it, it just redirects me to the Book Depository's page. Whoa.
Spooky.
Conspiracy. So I wonder, that might just be their own little in-house press where they publish books that they want to sell on Book Depository. Okay, so things to note. Like you said, they are closing operations on April 26th. And then once you have placed orders, they will continue to ship them and provide support until June 23rd. So there's a couple of months in between, obviously, for them to sort everything out. It says on this, I'm reading this off of ArabianBusiness.com. And it says, the reason for the closure is not stated. However, it comes as part of Amazon's efforts to reduce costs and its workforce. All right. It seems like they jumped to a conclusion there. I'm like, how can you, if it's not stated, how do you get to
You're just guessing. Okay.
That's interesting. It seems like you're guessing. But we do know that like a lot of tech companies have been having giant layoffs. So it sort of makes sense to me that they're just like closing little branches off of their edges. But it was so fascinating to see the response on Instagram of how upset people were. And I totally get it. The free shipping is a really big deal. Yeah. And we live in cultures where book buying is so easy and book accessibility to English books is so easy. But when I lived in Honduras, it's such a different landscape. Like I remember, first of all, having a hard time finding new bookstores. Yeah. And then when I did go there, it was such a limited selection and importing books was just so expensive for them that they just didn't really do it. So, it was 2013 when I lived there and all of the books that you'd find were, Twilight and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and like those really big ones that are probably cheaper for them to ship. So when I saw this news on Instagram, I clicked on the announcement post. Yeah. And literally, Raylene, all of the comments were full of people from South America. It's obviously just coincidence when I clicked on it. But it was like people from Argentina and Brazil and stuff who were just like, no, this is how I import English books. Like there's no other way to get them for this cheap. So it's just fascinating to think about the different implications of all of that.
Yeah, like we can still get books other ways, but for us it's just like, we're losing the beautiful UK covers, but for some people it's I'm losing all access to books.
No, that's true. But I do think if you are, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, order a bunch right now. I mean, obviously that's what they're hoping to do. I'm not sort of saying support Amazon. Maybe this is actually, I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, hey, this is a great opportunity now to kind of break that habit of supporting Amazon and switching over. So one company that I've been seeing a lot of people mentioning is Blackwell's.
Yeah, I've heard of them as well.
Yes, Blackwell's is also a British company, a British bookshop. Are they independent? I am not sure, but they apparently also do free shipping. So definitely worth looking into that because they have the British editions, if that's the thing that you're sad to be losing. Yeah. Which is going to be pretty interesting. All right, I really went on a tangent, but I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm very excited to see those 7 books. Now you're making me want to do a little splurge.
I just felt like, you know what, it's been a while. I used to buy books from them all the time, and I just haven't been because I always do this. I always end up doing a big order, and they take forever to show up. But hopefully,
I remember
last time I ordered from them, they actually showed up very fast.
So. They've been so quick lately. Yeah. I remember when you were at my house in BC, and you were like, which of the new Japanese books should I order? And I was like, ooh, I don't know, maybe all of them. And you're like, yeah, you're right. And you just bought all all of them. It was awesome.
I have very little self-control when it comes to books. Like, I just can't. And you should see, like, my cart had 10 books in it at one point. I was like, that's too many. I really need to, like, weed out a couple. And so I was, like, cross-referencing and seeing which ones were actually available just to order from Indigo. So I was like, if I want them, I can get them.
Yeah.
It was hard, though. It was really tough.
Brutal.
Yeah.
All right, so you didn't buy any books, but did you read any books?
Yeah, well, first off, I finished reading YN by Esther Yi. Esther Yi lives in Berlin, and YN is her debut novel. It discusses loneliness, sense of self, and obsession. To quote Kat Zhang, YN is less interested in demystifying a cultural phenomenon by creating a legible justification for why someone becomes obsessed. It simply throws readers down the hole of obsession in all its fevered absurdity. So, I have to say, I didn't end up loving this book. I was really enjoying the first half, but then it started to just turn into a book that was just a not for me kind of vibe.
Okay.
And just sort of like that quote that I just read off, it is very much just like a down the rabbit hole, like a little bit insane in the way, like it starts to just go off the rails and start to kind of lose its sense of reality a little bit. Like it's not just about a woman who's obsessed with something. It's just like you get in like deep into her psyche, and it's like it just gets really strange. And I feel like I could see a lot of people loving it. Like it's written very beautifully, like very lush writing, which is just like not what I look for in a book. And I found it sometimes hard to understand what was actually happening because the writing almost got in the way of itself for me personally.
Interesting, yeah, totally.
Like it was just very wordy at times, and I was like, what is even happening? Like, just explain to me what's happening. So it was very much just like personal tastes why I didn't love it. But if it sounds interesting to people, like definitely pick it up because it was an interesting, strange little book. But I'm wondering if you'd like it now. Like, I don't know.
That's kind of some of the things you're saying. I'm like, it's writing, it got in its way. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, you might really like it. You definitely would like it more than me, I think. So I finished that. And then I actually, here's another fun thing. Yesterday, I reached perfection on my other Stardew farm.
No way. That's really
baby.
fast, Raylene. Oh my God.
I played a lot. So I don't even want to know how many actual hours in game. Like I haven't looked at that in a while because I was like, I don't need to see that. But it was over 100 to be sure. And I spent a lot of time yesterday. I had to cross it over to year 4 in order to reach it. Yeah. I'd spent a lot of time sleeping through weeks so that I could make lots of money because that was the only thing I had left. And so through doing that yesterday, I played for a few hours and I was like, oh, I'll listen to an audiobook while I'm doing this. So I managed to finish Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman. In his third collection of short stories, Neil Gaiman revisits old friends like Shadow Moon and Doctor Who while also introducing the world to new characters. Ranging from fantasy to horror, fairy tales to speculative fiction, there is a story or poem for everyone in this collection. So yeah, I pretty much zipped through it. I think I was at about the halfway point when I started yesterday, and I listened to the rest of it, obviously. And same thing, kind of. Like, I liked some stories. I didn't love some of them. There were some that kind of were just forgettable to me, but there were a few that really stood out. And one of them in particular was the story that was about Shadow Moon, who's the main character in American Gods, which I haven't read or seen. Like, I know nothing about American Gods, but reading this story made me really intrigued to read American Gods, because I'm like, okay, like, what is this Shadow Moon guy's deal? Right. In the story, he can kind of like see a ghost, and it's like, wait, but was he seeing a ghost? Like, is that what was happening? Like, or was there something beyond that? And so I'm really intrigued about American Gods now. So I think I'll give that one a try, possibly as my next Neil Gaiman. And there were a few other standouts, but like there was a really long story about Doctor Who that I was just like, I don't care about Doctor Who. I really
That's
just
the
don't.
most British thing I've ever heard. I love it. I don't know why. It makes sense to me that Neil Gaiman would have an entire thing about Doctor Who in a book that's not about Doctor Who. Why would that be in there? That's so funny.
Yeah, so there were some like moments like that where it was like, huh? But there were a few poems that were like really good in this collection as well. And
sorry, Ray, is this short stories, essays, poems, or a huge combo?
Short stories and poems. the odd
Okay,
poem.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I originally thought that there were going to be essays, but there weren't. But like I mentioned
Okay.
last week, there was a very, very lengthy introduction by Neil Gaiman, so it almost
Right.
felt like it had a mix of all three.
Cool.
Because you kind of get to know Neil Gaiman a little bit in the intro, and then you
Yeah.
read the stories, and it's a mix of stories and poems. But there weren't that many poems. But I listened to it on audio, so every now and then I would just be like, huh, this sounds like a poem instead of a short story.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun to just like experience them as they came at me. So yeah, it was just like a mix. It was a mix of, I liked some of it, I didn't like all of it.
Classic.
So
Such a classic.
a little
with short
3 stars.
stories.
So I think I've read 3 books in a row that were kind of like 3-star
that
vibes,
sucks.
which sucks. So I'm really hoping that the next book, which I'm currently reading, will end up being better than that. So far, I am really enjoying it. You're going to be surprised. Maybe.
Oh.
Maybe not. Maybe you won't even know what this is. I'm reading The Cider House Rules by John Irving.
Okay, well, first of all, John Irving's one of your authors.
He
right?
is.
Okay,
He
sick.
is. And
I
this
don't
is
know anything about that book, though.
Yeah, it's a big honker. It's a pretty large book. Although it was funny, when I added it on Goodreads, it said that the book was 972 pages.
Good
and I was
Lord.
like, holy shoot, no way.
Here
But
we
then
go.
I looked at it and it's actually 500. Like that listing was just so wrong. So I got really
Okay.
scared, and then it was fine. It's only about 550 pages, but it is very dense. It is a very dense book. So this book is about it's kind of about a few people, but one of the main characters is this young boy who is being raised at an orphanage. Like he has been adopted multiple times, but he keeps getting kind of either sent back, or he keeps bringing himself back to the orphanage because he loves it there. Like he wants to stay there. He likes the
Yeah.
people there. He likes the environment. Like it's just where he feels comfortable. And so he keeps going back there. And so it starts out from when he's literally a baby. Like you get to know his whole story. But where I'm at in the story right now, he's like 16. So it's a good old coming of age story that, spans a long period of time. I do love that. But then one of the other main characters is a doctor who kind of runs the orphanage. And he is also a secret abortionist. So that's like a whole aspect of the book.
Okay.
And it's like, so it's kind of stressful. Like it's not like an easy read. It's kind of like, oh God, like what is gonna, like, and I don't know what the through line for the rest of the book is going to be. I'm still just in the beginning stages where you're getting to know the characters, getting to know how they got to where they are now. So I don't actually know what the plot of this book is going to be. Like I have no idea where it's going. But it's kind of fun. I kind of like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It was also made into a movie starring Tobey Maguire. So I'm going to watch that.
Tobey Maguire?
I know.
I love
Toby.
him. God, I love Toby.
I love Toby. So yeah, I'm excited to watch that eventually, although I don't know if it's a good movie. Like I don't know if it's a good adaptation, but I'm excited to watch it.
Can you
nonetheless.
believe that somebody was bold enough to cast Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man?
I love whoever did that.
That
They're
is
my
the
hero.
craziest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It's like a twisted evil genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
It doesn't make sense. Like I don't know. It makes no sense, but I love it so much.
Sense at all. I don't get it, but I love it.
I love it
man.
too. Yeah, I'll say it here and now. Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man.
Yes. And when he was I don't know. Can we spoil things anymore?
Of
I'll
course.
try not to. I won't. Maybe I shouldn't spoil anything.
Are you going to
but
say when he's a dark
basically-
Spider-Man? When he's got the hair?
No, oh my god, it's
That's my favorite part.
incredible. No, I was just gonna say when we saw him in the last few years as Spidey, if you know what I mean. So exciting and emotional to see our Spider-Man.
It was honestly like the best. That was the best.
Oh, that's sick.
really loved
God, I
that.
love Tobey Maguire. That's awesome. That's just awesome.
But yeah, that's all of my reading. Like that's what I've been up to.
Sick.
Yeah.
All right. What do I have to say for myself? Very little, I'm realizing. Very little.
fine.
Okay, so first of all, I went for a walk yesterday, and I was like, basically, I'm really trying to keep up my stamina, my momentum from all the walking I did in England, because this happens to me every time I go on a trip. Anywhere I go, I go to bigger cities, it seems to be, and I end up walking a lot, and I'm just like not really laying around. I'm just like walking. And so my step count is literally like quadruple what it normally is in my day-to-day life. And for the first few days, that's difficult, but then I get into a rhythm and it's not that hard anymore. And I'm like, great, I've got to keep this up. And so I keep walking kind of just because that's what I'm doing. I'm going around to different shops or seeing different friends and we're doing things. By the time I get back home, walking 10,000, 15,000 steps is not a big deal anymore, right? But then I relax for 5-6 days, and then when I try and take a walk, I want to die. Yeah. And so I was like, Friday was the day that I came back, and it was like a full travel day, you know, a couple of hours, an hour to get to the airport, a couple hours in the airport, 6 hours on the plane, another hour just to get off of the plane and out of the airport, 2-3 hours to get home from the airport, all that stuff. And so the whole day, I got home at like 4:35, fell asleep instantly. Good night, everyone. Yeah. Woke up at like 6:30. My dad had made spaghetti. I ate spaghetti, went back to sleep. Dead to the world. And then, so Friday was a wash. Saturday was a really great day. I loved Saturday. I was super calm. I was relaxed. I decided I'm going to become a self-care. I'm going to have a lotion. I use moisturizer now, Raylene.
Congratulations.
That all happened Saturday. Huge day. Yeah. But I was very much like relaxing and just trying to fix my body clock a little bit and just take it really easy. But then yesterday I was like, we can't take it easy again, or it's going to happen. It's going to happen again, or I lose all the stamina I built. Yeah. So I was like, no, we're going for a walk, and it's going to be a big walk, damn it.
Oh, okay.
And so I went for a big walk, and I was like, I'm going to keep listening to Saving Time by Jenny Odell.
Oh, wow, you're pushing through. Okay.
I was trying to push through, right? I'm actively hating it now. I literally, Raylene, I was walking down a street, and I said out loud, what is she even talking about? I just feel like it's straying. It's straying.
Yeah.
So the book, obviously, Saving Time. It's a reflection about time.
Yeah. Yes.
About time. And How to Do Nothing, her first book that I read, was also sort of about this, but in like a slant way. It was about, the subtitle of that book was Resisting the Attention Economy. And it was just thinking about, what do we give our attention to? How is this attention economy using us, abusing us? And so just by nature of it, there was a little bit of talk about time, like how you spend your time and what does time mean. But this book it's kind of funny, Raylene, because remember when earlier this year, late last year, I also read her pamphlet book that she had published. And I was like, it's too academic.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so clearly for an academic audience that it really got a little away from leisurely reading at all. Like it was just so dense, and out reading it, I was like, wow, my brain is having to work so hard, but it's not in a fun way. It's not in like I'm enjoying the mental stimulus. No, it's just like, oh my God, I'm having to remember what the word liminal means every other minute. But so then in this book, I was really hoping that we were going to go back to How to Do Nothing. Yeah. But I would say no. It really is on that sort of academic front again.
What?
And
like,
I know.
Surprising.
It is surprising.
It seems like this book is supposed to be like just for everyone, for the people.
Right. And so right now,
accessible.
I just listened to a part that was enjoyable. And like she is talking about the history of time. And like, because of course, time is a construct in many ways. Is time passing? That's genuinely a philosophical question. Yeah. What is time? It's a way that we've decided, a word we've given to this concept of how there seems to be a thing we're moving through, and we get older and things die, and right? Like there is a concept there, and we have structured it. But there are some like facts about it. The sun rises and it does set, and we do get older and we do die. So there clearly is a passing of something, but what is that? I don't know. So that's interesting to me. And she's talking about how like, why did we invent clocks specifically? And how like, a big part of it seems to have been like monks having needing a way to pray at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Which that's fascinating. Like genuinely, I think that's really interesting to me. And then talking about how the British railway system, the train system, was a huge part of why time became so specific, because they had these trains and they needed people to be able to get on them at the right time and everything. And so that became like a massive thing. And then she talks about, in contrast, what was going on in China. And China was like not having this sort of a strict time cut into 5 minutes and cut, like that was not a thing for them. And I'm like, that is interesting as well. But overall, it's like, so far I'm probably like an hour and a half into this 11-hour audiobook. And I'm just like, literally, the irony is killing me, really. The irony of like, how does this book go on for so long? And it almost feels a little bit disrespectful to the reader's time. Yeah. Of how like it's going on and on. And so I was reading, I was like, am I crazy? Are other people thinking this? This article called Time Doesn't Have to Be Money by Constance Grady came out March 17th of this year. She reviews this book, but she also reviews another book called Real Self-Care by Pooja Laxman, which I guess also talks a lot about time. And I haven't finished the article yet. I only read the part about the book I'm reading, but I'm curious now to read. I'm like, maybe this is another book that would interest me. I'll link this article in the show notes as well, but she had this one line in her review that really, I was like, I could not have said this better myself. So here's just a little paragraph that she said. Time is a more theoretical subject than attention. And actually, I'm going to rewind a little bit, because this perfectly, sorry, I want to rewind. How to Do Nothing became a hit during the pandemic because it offered ways to wrest your attention away from work and screens and towards the physical world. The brief of saving time is to pull off the same trick, this time focused on time rather than attention. Time is a more theoretical subject than attention, and as such, saving time lacks the empathetic practicality that made How to Do Nothing such a hit. This is a dutiful book that conscientiously checks its privilege at every opportunity. Still, as Odell turns out fact after fact on the history of how we think about time, we start to get a sense of how strange and artificial contemporary labor time is. And then they go into those cool history facts and stuff, and I'm just like a little stressed reading this article where I'm like, wait, they have pulled out as one of the highlights of the book the thing that I just read, and I'm only an hour and 15 minutes in or whatever. I'm like, is there no gems 8 hours in?
Yeah.
But there are a couple things to pull out of here. Number one, I really agree with them maybe that basically one of the big problems is that time is so nebulous as an idea that it's not as practical to talk about than attention. Yeah. So in the first book, it was like tips and anecdotes of how time has passed or how attention has passed and blah, blah, blah. In this one, like I said, I literally shouted out into the void. I was like, what is she talking about?
Yeah, like what is her point?
What is going on? It just is like so nebulous and like, let's talk about time. And I'm like, oh no, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's less like a self-help book and more just like a history of time.
Yeah, or just like a woman's meditation on how strange is time, though. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it's strange. And then this line that I've just read out, this is a dutiful book that conscientiously checks its privilege at every opportunity. I was really glad that Constance, my old pal Constance Grady, put this in this article, because I was really noticing this constantly throughout the book. Jenny Odell is like checking time privilege. Oh. And it's really annoying. Like she's just like, this has happened because of Christianity. And I'm like, okay. And then she just moves on. And I'm like, I feel like you only mention that because you feel like you're supposed to check your privilege and be like, it's a Christian ideal. Or this is clearly only helpful for because of capitalism. And then moves on. And I'm like, I feel like you're just dropping all of these like trendy words like capitalism and race and all of these topics that I'm like, are they actually meaningful to the thing you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just am finding it really like trend words are getting dropped every left, right, and center. And
that's really annoying.
It is really annoying.
Like, I would not read that book for sure.
Really? I think I'm going to DNF it.
I think you should.
I feel like an hour and a half is enough time for me to have spent with the book where I'm like, I feel like I've given this an honest effort, but I'm not having a fun time. And literally yesterday, I was on my big walk, and what happened was I walked past two different people. Can you imagine? It was awful. No, it was fine. So I took out my little AirPods while I was passing them.
Yeah.
And I said, hi. And they were like, hi. And I was like, Happy Easter. And they were like, Happy Easter. And then I was like about to put the AirPods back in my ears to keep listening. And I was like, actually,
like this.
I don't want to. And I just put them in my pockets. And I was like, I think I'm okay.
Oh,
and
no.
so I walked the rest of the way home in like happy silence, and I just was like, whatever, bopping. That's a clue. That's a big clue that I'm just pushing my way through. And I just don't want to read something right now that I'm really like having to it feels like homework in so many different ways. It feels like homework because it reminds me of being in grad school. It feels like homework because I don't really get the point of the book right now and I'm kind of annoyed at it. It feels like homework because I'm not just enjoying it. And I just want to focus on books that bring me joy and I have fun reading. Actually, kind of the opposite to you, Raylene. I have read such good books so far this year.
I'm
like
jealous.
the last 4 books that I read, I gave 5 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Talk to My Back, Outlawed, Weasels in the Attic, and A Psalm for the Wild Built. I've really enjoyed them. And also another fun fact is the last 3 books that I've read were all on my e-reader. God, I love my e-reader.
Yep. You're killing it with
I'm really glad I got another opportunity to mention my e-reader, Aileen.
Actually, funny that you mentioned it. I've been using my e-reader thanks to you.
Oh my God.
I'm reading the Cider House Rules on my Kobo right now.
Oh.
Because it is quite a large book too, so I'm like,
Yeah.
this would be a great opportunity to read this and I can carry it around with me.
So much easier.
It's awesome. You inspire
So
me.
basically, I'm DNFing this.
Yeah.
I do not want to do it anymore.
No, it's not
Oh my
worth
God.
it.
Wait, there's a huge exception. I forgot McClue on my list. I forgot to log McClue.
That's
actually
true.
I didn't
That's
like.
true. McClue was probably the 4th last book I read, and it was even worse than all the rest that I just read.
Yep, I forgot to log McClue because it was an audiobook. I often forget to write it down for some reason. Like I don't have a physical thing that I'm like, the final page or click or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't like McClue. So that for anyone who's listening who's like, Ariel, you didn't like McClue. Nope, you're right. You were right. I didn't.
You are correct.
Anyhow, though, I think I'm gonna DNF it, and there's that. There's what I was reading, and I guess I'm giving up on it right now, live on the pod.
There you go.
Get me out of here. All right. We accidentally talked for a really long time. Do we still have time, do you think, to do your book game?
It's a pretty short game.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this game, I have given it the name Deep Dive. Because what I have done is I've looked at your Goodreads from a long, long time ago and found books that you gave 5 stars. And I want you to tell me about the books. Tell me why you liked them so much. Tell me what they're about, if you can remember. I think it'll be kind of funny because they're all from a long time ago.
This is really funny. Do they have reviews that I wrote?
They do. Well, one of them didn't. Maybe it did. I can't remember, but 2 of them definitely do.
Okay, so you can cross-reference if I'm making stuff up.
Exactly. Okay, so the first one, I think you'll remember this one fairly well because you've told me about this book before. Break and Enter by Nora McClintock.
Oh!
Tell me about that book. Why did you love it? What's it about?
This is such a good book. Okay, Break and Enter by Nora. I love this game. I'm already having a great time. Nora McClintock is a Canadian author. This is part of a series, a little crime series, very much like based on adult crime, but they're for teens. And I first read this series when I genuinely, though, I was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And I read this first book. This is not the first book in the series, but it is the first one that I read because I didn't know that it was a series.
Do you know what number in the series it is?
I want to say it's the third one.
It's number 5.
But it could have been later.
5.
That makes, totally makes sense. So when I read it, I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with this. And then I went back and I read them in order.
Very
good. I will say I did take these from my grade school library. And I have no shame in admitting that because I was a child and because I hated that grade school and I was so mercilessly bullied that for me, and no, none of the teachers stood up for me at all, that for me was a piece of revenge, was taking those books, the one thing I could escape to.
Books.
Yeah, the Chloe Levesque series, damn it. So basically, plot-wise, the books are about this dad, her stepdad. She has a new stepdad, and it's about like, is he joining the family? What do we know about him? But he's a cop. He's a cop on the streets of Montreal. He's a cop, and she is not a cop, obviously. She's like 15.
Yeah.
But she is having all these little crimes happen at her school. And so it's mirroring her dad's or her stepdad's jobs and her jobs. And sometimes they get a little twisted together, which is really fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember exactly what the crime is in Break and Enter.
Oh.
And I don't remember. I just remember that it was really fun and that she tries to solve it, which is like...
that sounds great. I'll read it. I'll read just the first little sentence out to you because it sounds very dramatic. First, it's cheating on a test, then breaking into her teacher's car. Somebody is trying to set Chloe up, but who'd want to get her into trouble? And it's so somebody's framing her. Dun, dun, dun.
Classic!
It's funny because this is number 5, so obviously like we're deep into the series at this point. Like she's established herself as a crime-fighting teen.
Exactly.
Well, that's fantastic.
It's so much fun. It was really addictive, very easy to read. I really enjoyed the relationship between her and her stepdad, but also like it felt really cleverly written. The way that it was like about the relationship between a child and their step-parent, but also all of her relationships at school and how much she's enjoying like crime fighting. That sounds silly, but they're very contemporary. Like they don't feel unrealistic. The crimes don't get like wildly out of... She's not like solving murders at 13 or something.
Well, that's good. That's good.
It's a little like Nancy Drew though, where there's like,
all right, you remembered that fairly well. So now I'm going to move on to number 2, which I like kind of forgot that you read this book. It's kind of funny. Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier.
Oh, wow.
You loved this book. You gave it 5 stars.
Is this translated from the German?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this has these have beautiful covers. There's 3 in the series. I'm pretty sure I only ever read the first one.
Yeah.
This is a time traveling book.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it's YA again. And it's about this main character who goes on these time traveling adventures. And I'm really remembering that they were set in Europe. And when I like looked into it and everything, it's because I realized that they're German books that were translated to English. So of course they were set in Europe. Do I remember much about the plot? No, but I do really remember that there was this time traveling element. Yeah. And that it was about a girl and a boy going on these adventures together, and I'm pretty sure that they're falling in love. And I just remember them being, again, a lot of fun. Like, they were very plot-driven. I actually feel like the Nora McClintock books are more, like, character-driven. About the relationships and stuff. This was definitely just more of a fun ride. I remember a church. God, there's so like these scenes that are like really burned into my brain, like running towards a church and stuff, but I don't really remember the context.
That's interesting. Yeah, in your review, it looks like you stayed up really late to finish this book. You said, it's 2:42 a.m. This darned great book made me stay up so late. And you wrote a really massive review about it.
What year was it?
I'm not sure, because this is from your other Goodreads.
Oh, like it got transferred.
Yeah,
the data
it got transferred to another one, so it
totally.
doesn't... Wait, if I keep going, I can find your review. I want to know what year you read it. 2013, apparently.
Yeah, so literally 10 years ago.
10 years ago. So, okay, so you don't remember the main character's name?
I want to guess something German. No, I don't remember.
Her name is Gwen. And the second, like the last little bit of the synopsis made me kind of laugh because you were just telling me about the characters, and this will give you an idea what the vibe is of this book. She's totally unprepared for time travel, not to mention all that comes with it. Fancy clothes, archaic manners, a mysterious secret society, and Gideon, her time traveling counterpart. Yes. He's obnoxious, a know-it-all, and possibly the best looking guy she's seen in any century.
Yeah!
Hilarious. Okay, you did great.
Fun.
I think you did great. Now, my final book for this game of deep dive is one that I also read and remember zero about it. So I'll be curious to see how much you remember.
Okay.
Glory O'Brien's History of the Future by A.S. King.
Oh, damn.
What the heck is this book about?
That's a funny question because a lot of her books I've realized have started to blend in my mind because they all have these really surrealist, we've talked about this, like magical realism elements. And so some of them have started to blend a little bit. Glory O'Brien's History of the Future. I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah. You loved it. You gave it 5 stars, baby.
Wow, really? I'm actually completely blanking on the synopsis.
I was wondering if that would happen because I'm like, what is this book about? Like, if you ask me about her other books, I kind of remember, like, Please Ignore Very Deeds or whatever.
Very distinctly.
That
Very
one,
Deeds, I remember.
she delivers pizzas. I remember that. And there's like a thing about a pagoda. Like there's all this stuff, like little things I can remember.
Passengers, I really remember. Everybody Sees the Ants, I really remember. Yeah. Wow, what's Glory O'Brien about?
What the hell is this about? I don't know. Okay, well that's fun. I love that this happened.
This one has gapped.
Yeah, so the synopsis says, in this masterpiece about freedom, feminism, and destiny, Prince Honor author A.S. King tells the epic story of a girl coping with devastating loss at long last. A girl who has no idea that the future needs her and that the present needs her even more.
Time travel. That was
sounds
very
like time travel. Yeah, it's vague. Let's see. Something about a power to see a person's infinite past and future. From ancient ancestors to many generations forward, Glory is bombarded with visions, and what she sees ahead of her is terrifying. Oh, wow. I really don't remember this at all.
No, this is, like, the cover is seared in my brain.
Yeah.
I remember having a fun time reading it, but damn, oh, damn, I don't remember what happens at all.
That's very interesting. I know for me, I didn't love the book. Like, I gave it 3 stars, and you gave it 5, which is why I was like, oh, maybe it really affected her in a certain way, but not anymore. It was probably 10 years ago as well, so.
Wow.
Well, that's the end of my game.
I liked that game because that really was, those were deep cuts, old YA books that I loved as a teen.
Yep.
But don't really remember now. I mean, like we say, like, I'm currently 28 years old. Some of these were books I read when I was 18 or 17.
Yeah, and like there are so many books and years between then and now. You know, like you've read a lot of other things that have overwritten
many books
the memories from those books.
Wow, that's fun. I'm like also right now trying to skim and I cannot find a synopsis of it. But there you go. I stand by them and I think they were all great.
There you go. That's the way you should feel. Yeah, that's good.
All right, I got an alert that says my camera is overheating. So we need to wrap this baby up.
Let's wrap it up.
Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed that game and what we're reading. Do remember, we're doing Mashed Potato May. Use the hashtag Mashed Potato May. And we're just reading books we keep meaning to read but still haven't read. So start thinking about what your TBR for that might be. We're going to go talk about, we're going to do Movie Tub for our patrons, which is our Patreon-only mini podcast. And I'm going to be reviewing Tiny Beautiful Things. I watched the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about a little double feature I did of Train to Busan and Bullet Train.
I love Bullet Train. Okay, cool. That'll be fun to talk about. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we will talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.